Welcome to Airgun Extra, brought to you in association with Crackshot, the Southwest's premier airgun centre and ranges. In this week's episode, I'm taking a look at the awesome lever action Reximex Lieva PCP, but before that I'm going high tech and targeting farmyard rats with the Nocpix Bolt thermal scope. Right, well, we've had quite a few ratting sessions this winter, so I thought I'd try and make this one a little bit different. And the way I've gone about that is that I'm going to be using a thermal scope instead of my usual night vision. Now, quite a few people have been asking me, how do thermal optics compare when it comes to airgun hunting? So we've got a prime opportunity now to give it a go. The model I've got is the Nocpix Bolt, this is the P25R. In terms of what we might expect, I was actually here last night and I managed to shoot a few, so the rats are about. It's a nice mixed holding. We've got cattle here, there are turkeys, there are grain stores, so there is plenty of food here to pull those rats in now that it's cold and barren out on the countryside. Now, I have actually put a few handfuls of grain down to encourage rats to stop around where we're going to be shooting, so hopefully that will be effective. So let's get into it. Nice close one there. Now, I have noticed that the rangefinder on the Bolt only goes down to 10 meters, but it's not really a problem because shooting like this, I know that if it's less than 10 meters, the rats are probably no less than 8 or 9 meters away. So I'm giving them, as I did with that one, about an inch of holdover, and it's still absolutely bang on. Another one out in the yard there. That one was ranged at 16 meters. I've got to say, it was quite a weight for that one. It's slowing down a bit, and I don't really expect things to be going off the boil this early in this session. Now, I didn't shoot this area last night, so hopefully there are going to be a few more rats on the move. Another close one there. It's not exactly manic, but we're getting a few shots. But we've been here for a couple of hours now, so I want to stretch my legs and have a brew. But while we're away from it, I will give you a quick run through of the kit that we've been using for tonight's shoot. Right, so the kit for tonight's shoot, I've already mentioned the Nocpix Bolt thermal scope. In terms of its actual performance, you'll be able to see the footage that we're capturing through it, but it is packed with features. It's got a laser rangefinder, ballistic calculator, you can save lots of different profiles on it, it's got loads of different colour palettes. Way too many features for me to run through in detail now, so as ever, if you want to find out more about it, take a look at the Scott Country website. In terms of mounting the scope, as ever, I'm using Sports Match scope mounts. I use them all the time, I've got absolute faith in them. The gun is the Daystate Huntsman Revere Safari Edition, and it's another piece of kit that I use very, very frequently. I've got two of these, one in 177, one in 22. This is the 22, sub 12 foot-pounds, which makes it perfect for this sort of close quarters shooting around farm buildings. It is just a very dependable PCP air gun. I've also got it fitted with the Eagle Vision Cam Helia moderator. It sometimes gives a false impression of how noisy it is when you're shooting indoors like this, and noise can echo about a bit, but rest assured it is a very effective moderator. Ammo wise, I'm running the gun on JTS dead center pellets, the 16 grain version, which I use a lot with my 2.2 sub 12 air guns. This one absolutely loves them, it's really accurate with them. So far it's really doing the job, and hopefully we'll get a few more with it tonight. That's encouraging. We've just got back and we're straight back onto the rats, and that one seemed to be having a go at the previous one we'd shot. We've had a bit of a flurry under the pallet there, and I say this all the time, but pallets are brilliant when you're rat shooting because rats just feel safe, sheltered underneath them, and it's so easy to thread shots through when they're stood still beneath a pallet like that. In fact, another thing I've really noticed is the detail that I'm seeing through the Nocpix Bolt. Now, quite often with more affordable thermal, you can hardly tell one end of a rat from the other, and you literally have to wait for them to move to tell where their head is. But with this one, I'm getting a nice detailed view, and the result is a nice, precise shot placement. Right, well, I think it's a good time to wrap it up now. We had a long wait for that last one, and we haven't seen anything since, so it just seems that we've given this area a right hammering. But, you know, I've used thermal for a change, and I've got to say, I've been really impressed with the Nocpix Bolt. Now, I will say, the thermal's never going to give you that pinpoint detail that you get from night vision. But, you know, I've seen plenty enough detail for confident headshots tonight, and when you've got a thermal unit like this, there is the added advantage of being able to spot heat signatures without having to splash out on a separate thermal spotter. And another thing that's crossed my mind is you also don't need an IR illuminator, and I do wonder if that helps a little bit with stealth, because you're always going to get a faint glow from your illuminator. But yeah, either way, it's done the job tonight, and I've now got about a dozen rats to pick up before I head for home. An interesting night putting the Nocpix Bolt through its paces there. Next up, let's take a look at the Reximex Lieva. I've got a great little gun here this week. It's the Reximex Lieva, and I think that name is a nod to its lever action. Distributed in the UK by Rangerite, this particular model has a recommended retail price of £420. Now, we don't often do reviews of plinking guns, but I've had to make an exception for this one because it is a true fun gun and an absolute joy to shoot. You can see that this airgun really does have the look of a classic Winchester Lieva rifle. It just looks like the sort of gun that would have tamed the Wild West. So, and I've got to say, actually, for what it is, I really like its styling. This is the black version, but you can also get a model with all silver metalwork, and that one has a recommended retail price of £445. Now, bearing in mind its price point, it actually appears to be very well made. It feels really solid and just looks utterly tidy from one end to the other. As for the lever's proportions, it's small, light and very pointable. It actually handles pretty similarly to a little single barrel 410 shotgun that I used to have in my teens. Overall length is just over 95 centimetres and it weighs a shade under 2.4 kilos, though it does actually feel significantly less. So those proportions mean that this is an airgun that shooters of all ages and sizes should be able to manage pretty comfortably. The design of the woodwork is pretty simplistic, but it is a lovely bit of Turkish walnut. So yeah, the fore-end section is quite basic, but it feels good in the hand. The butt section of the stock is equally simplistic. The cheek piece is quite low and it's finished with a hard plastic pad, but although basic, it is just right for this airgun's overall styling. So you can see that the lever's barrel actually sits beneath the cylinder, and again, with this airgun's overall styling, it's just right. It's a 500mm barrel, and the lever is available in 177, 22 and .25 calibers. Now, if you screw the cap off the end of the barrel, it is actually threaded 1/2" UNF for silencer attachment. Now, the only slight snag being that the cylinder is so close above it, so that means you either need a silencer with a very long, slim neck, or you need to get yourself an adapter, which you should be able to source online. So when it comes to sighting, you've actually got a pretty simple post and notch open sight arrangement for quick fire plinking. Now, there's a little screw on the rear sight element that enables you to adjust it up and down for elevation adjustment. For windage, or left and right adjustment, the instructions actually imply that you need to slacken off the barrel band and twist it to move the foresight post left or right. Now, to be honest with you, I didn't feel inclined to do that, so I've just been using a bit of aim off to compensate for it being just fractionally off to the left. You can also see that you have a dovetail rail on the top of the action block, and that means you can fit a telescopic sight, and it turns out that this little PCP is more than accurate enough to warrant fitting a set of tellies. More on that in a moment. The trigger blade is of a traditional curved design. Now, the actual release mechanism is adjustable. That requires you to remove the butt section of the stock, and the process for doing that is explained very clearly in the manual that comes with the Reximex Lieva. Now, as usual, I've decided to test the trigger straight out of the box, and I've no doubt that that is how most shooters will be using this airgun. And actually, for this type of gun, it's pretty good. I think it is technically a single stage trigger, but on this one, there is a little bit of movement at the start that does make it feel like a two-stage. And in all honesty, although pretty basic, it's perfectly good and makes for a very predictable shot release. There is a discrete crossbolt safety catch incorporated into the trigger blade. It's simple but effective. You push it across from the left into the safe position, and then simply push it back across from the right when you're ready to shoot. This little PCP runs a multi-shot magazine that slots into the front part of the action block. Now, you get two of them supplied. This one is .22 caliber and it holds 12 pellets. The magazine is what I regard as the standard Reximex magazine, and I'm sure it'll look very familiar to a lot of you. Now, you also get a really neat little single shot tray. It swings out for quick and very straightforward single shot loading. So at the heart of the Reximex Lieva is that lever action. And obviously the actual lever sits behind the trigger blade, the pivot point is in front of it. Now you can see that there is actually a leather sheath on the rear section of the lever. Again, that complements the gun's overall sort of Western styling, but it also creates a nice cushion to prevent your fingers from getting too bashed up. Now in operation, it works brilliant. Swing it down and forwards and then back up into position where it's fastened by a magnet and you're cocked, loaded and ready for the next shot. It's quick, great fun for plinking and has worked without any problems during my testing. I've been describing this as a plinking airgun, but it actually packs quite a punch. This one is running at a very healthy 11.3 foot-pounds. Now it also has a regulator so it's consistent, and with this one variation is remaining within 8 feet per second over a 10-shot string. You can also wind the power down. That is done via a screw at the rear of the action block, and again that process is described very clearly in the instructions. The cylinder is quite slim and it has a capacity of 105 cc. Maximum fill pressure is 250 bar and onboard pressure is displayed on a very clearly marked gauge at the front of the cylinder. So you should be able to expect about 60 shots from a full fill. When it is time to refill with air, you simply plug in the supplied quick fill probe into the inlet at the front of the cylinder between the barrel band and the gauge. Accuracy wise, this really is an airgun of two halves. I mean, with the open sights, I'd say it's a great backyard airgun, perfect for tin toppling out to 15 or 20 meters. Yeah, my grouping with the open sights has been around about 1 inch at 15 meters, I'd say. However, if you fit a telescopic sight, this is an airgun that's capable of sub 1 inch grouping at 30 meters, provided you match it with the right pellet. Now, I've been getting very good results using the heavy 19 grain Crossman Premier pellet. You know, sub 1 inch at 30 meters, that is much better than what I would expect from a lot of fun guns costing in the region of £400. The Reximex Lieva is definitely powerful and accurate enough for tackling small pests over sensible ranges, though I do think you'll probably want to fit a silencer if you intend to do that with stealth, because it does have quite a bark. Now, in all honesty, I don't really think that that's the kind of thing that this airgun was made for. In my opinion, it's the sort of gun that you just want to shoot for the joy of shooting, and it really excels at toppling tins and other reactive targets in the garden. I think it would be perfect for family plinking sessions, and I just reckon it's the sort of airgun that shooters of all ages are going to absolutely love.
The Great British Shooting Show, held on the 13th to the 15th of February 2026 at the NEC Birmingham. Book tickets online at shootingshow.co.uk.
I'm afraid that's all we've got time for this week, but as ever, we'll be back with more in 2 weeks' time. Thank you for tuning in. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks also to Crackshot. If you're going to the British Shooting Show, do check out their stand, because they tell me they've got some brilliant combo deals. Now, you can find out more about the British Shooting Show via a link in our show description. As I've said, we're back with more in a fortnight. In the meantime, enjoy your shooting and stay safe.